François.
Yes.
François, good morning. Thank you for getting up early to talk to me. Where are you in Zurich now?
I'm in Geneva. Geneva, yeah.
Oh, in Geneva. Okay. And were you there during lockdown the whole time?
Yes, at first, 1 year ago, I was supposed to be in Rome because I just finished my study there, 3 years program in Rome, Italy. So, but I had to come back because everything closed, and I was very lucky because I was in Switzerland when everything shut down for concerts, and the concert didn't take place, obviously. And then I stayed there, and I eventually never went back to Rome, only to take my
Oh,
stuff like 3 months after. It was pretty nostalgic when I saw my room full
oh
of dust
yes.
and
So you
and the,
studied, did you study there?
yes, that was my last piano program in Rome for three
Mm.
years, and I got the diploma in October.
Oh, okay. So how was that? When you got to Switzerland, did you know you won't be able to go back?
No, I didn't. I didn't. I really came only for a concert, and
Yeah,
then I stayed for forever since. Yeah.
my goodness. And where are you from originally?
I'm born in France, and
Yes.
I lived in Grenoble for 7 years, and then my
Mm.
family moved to Geneva, and I basically grew up in Geneva until I was 16, and then I went to Germany to study there for 8 years. So this was my main studies.
Okay. So you were with family in Geneva then, luckily, when you couldn't go back.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So I
Yeah.
stayed at first at my mother's house, and then I joined my apartment. Yeah.
But so all your stuff was still there. So you only had clothes there for the time you were supposed to go to Switzerland. So you only had a few things probably with you, or how was that?
Actually, I was very lucky because all my
Mm.
stuff was already at my mother's house because
Oh, I
my
see.
apartment was rented for the time I was supposed to be in Rome. And in Rome, I
Mm.
had only one room in a family house, so there were not so much place for my stuff. So I lived pretty minimalistically, and so there were not so much left in Rome that I needed in Switzerland. Of course, a few things, but a lot of
Yeah.
scores, for example. So I have to print a lot of scores, but it
Yeah.
was okay. I consider myself very lucky, at least for the beginning of the lockdown.
Mm. So you say when you went back, it was very emotional for you. Very was it difficult because you then had to move your things?
Yes, it was pretty emotional. I think I went back in July only for 2 days, just to take my stuff and maybe get a piano lesson. And and yeah, I just realized that the COVID really took me half of my Italian experience. I was supposed to live from October 2019 until July 2020, and I had to come back in March. So this basically took really the half of the year, and I was pretty sad because I really enjoyed being in Rome. This was really my plan, and this was so interesting to be there. Yeah.
And was it so? It was part of your studies. What did you do with that half of the studies that you couldn't finish?
We just made the lesson with videos, so every student has to record himself with the pieces that we were supposed to play at the piano lessons. And my teacher just spent endless hours to write down everything he wanted to tell, and we scanned the scores so that he could write in the scores where we already wrote things before. So it was extremely professional and generous from him, and so that we could further and continue to study together. So in that regard, we didn't lose anything. We just lose some kind of human contact. But the thing I really lost because of COVID was the possibility to be in Rome for a few more months.
Mm.
You know.
Yes, of course, and also that interaction between the other musicians and being in the city and all those things added. Yeah.
Yes, of course, of course.
So was it is it a professor who did the writing on the paper on the score that, or who did the teachings for you? What is his name?
Benedetto Lupo
Uh,
is a really amazing piano teacher, and my last one, and I'm really so grateful that I could have him for my last few years of study, and now I feel really complete and confident to go on by myself and only have a
mm,
few master classes maybe there and there, but yeah.
mm. Did you also find that he motivated you? You know, that when there were times that you had a little bit of emotional support needed.
I didn't need it so much special support because of COVID. Actually, my situation was not so terrible. I mean, I still have a few, I still had enough work. It was not financially dangerous for me. And I was in Switzerland where we still could keep a kind of freedom. We could go out. We could, the weather was really nice during the first lockdown. It was a beautiful spring full of nature, not so much pollution. And my mother's living in a countryside, so I really could go out almost every day to enjoy the sun, to run, to so this was pretty, this was okay. I mean, emotionally it was okay. More difficult was maybe the last few months because I could really sense that there is at least in France, because we're really living at the border, and I could really feel some kind of loss of freedom, and to see at once suddenly so many policemen and frontier people everywhere. This was a little harder. So and the thing is that the first lockdown, we everybody thought it would be only for a few months, maybe 2 months, 3 months. So it was kind of funny at the same time. It was I was a little fearful, but I found the situation pretty funny at the same time. But then after 1 year, it's not funny for
Mm.
for anyone.
Yeah.
So I can feel that myself, and everybody around is getting always more and more fearful. So we have to go on and accept the, the this fear and find ways how we can release that and how we can continue to be joyful and light, even if nobody's making fun of the situation anymore.
Mm. But does it affect you that the concerts can't happen, or do you do a lot of recordings, or how does that affect you?
Yeah, it does affect me a lot. I think for the last 20 years, maybe I was never so sedentary. So I never stayed so long in the same place. And maybe 5 years ago or 3 years ago, I spent half of my time traveling to give my concerts, going to going to other continents at least 3 or 4 times a year, and traveling inside Europe all the time. And now I'm always in France or in Switzerland in a perimeter of 2 kilometers, and I'm staying there I'm going out maybe once every month for 3 days. Or so this is very new for me, and it's pretty yeah. I'm getting some little anguish, yeah, about that.
Mm. Um, but how did you start with music? What age were you when you started?
No, it was very small. It was 4.5, I think. It was
Really?
first really random. I
Mm.
think my parent made me try the violin first when I was 3, and it didn't really work out. But when I started the piano, it was like a love at the first sight, and I had lot of fun. And then it's more the teachers who really pushed my family to take to consider my musical studies seriously, because I'm not from a musician family, so they had
Mm.
basically no real idea about what happened.
So the first lessons that you did, were that at a school, or was it, uh, privately, like with a piano teacher?
Now, first it was privately, and maybe 1 year after I joined a music school. This was in France, in a village, and then when we arrived in Geneva, I joined the conservatory. And
Okay.
5 years later, I started to study in a college of music.
Okay. And during that time, did you immediately thought you wanted to be a pianist?
I think the idea came little by little, and it was always a kind of an evidence. And actually, 4 days ago, I celebrated my what I call my 20 years career because I gave my very first piano recital on February 27th, 2001. So I really played 1 hour of music by heart. I was alone on the stage, and I played for a nice audience of maybe 200 people, earned some money. So this was I
How old
consider
were you?
this, I was 11, and I consider this
Wow.
moment to be the beginning of my professional career. And yeah, eventually around that time, I started giving concerts, and this was just an evidence that I would go on giving always more and more concerts, and
Mm.
yeah, this was evidence.
That's wonderful. At the age of 11, what was it from that concert that you can remember that made you want to do it again? Because at 11, I would think you would have been probably very nervous.
I was a little nervous, but it was more or less okay. I think I was more nervous when I turned 13, 14. Then
Ah,
I got really nervous, and then I started to practice martial arts, combat sports, and get a lot more confidence as a human being. So I got less nervous during my 20s, for example. But
oh, okay.
I was still pretty nervous when I was 11. But I just enjoy playing the piano so much, and I didn't ask myself if I really wanted to give those concerts. This was just evident. Yeah. I just
Okay.
practiced the whole year, new program, and I always enjoy to play for others. This clearly I enjoyed that. Yeah. But there are a whole concert like this with a professional issue. This, of course, a lot of stress, and this was very serious, not only for
Mm.
fun.
Um, Tell me, do you think that now in this time, artists say that they don't feel valued? Do you agree with that?
Yes, of course, I think for example, in Switzerland, when we're not allowed to give real concerts to gather audience, and all the studies around that topic, they all say that this is not a place where the virus can be spread because people sit down, people don't move, everyone wears a mask, and there is enough distance. So I really think that we cannot give concerts that the government choose to prevent the concerts. This is a real political decision because everyone has to suffer a little from the COVID, and they cannot maybe they cannot make so much exceptions even if there are no risks. So I think we are classical musicians feel being sacrificed in the name of equality because nightclubs cannot open as well because they have a real risk of spreading, or maybe pop music festivals where people are dancing where there are much more people in smaller areas. So I can understand that we need solidarity and equality, but at the same time, for us, it's very sad because we could have played all those concerts and probably nobody would have get the COVID because of our concerts.
Mm. Um, and do you think that this was also previously, before Corona, already as a sort of a topic, that artists and art is not valued that much?
Um, I think we often see artists as a group, like we would see, I don't know, dentists or yeah, construction workers as a whole group. But being an artist is a very individual way of life, individual career, and this is between two artists. The life is can be so different that it's very hard to create. To create rules and a frame so that we can so that every artist can live the same life and have the same support from the state or something. From my experience, because I lived in many different cities, maybe in 5 different countries in my life, and I could sense that basically artists have a better life in liberal societies where they consider that the artist is more responsible himself for his success than in countries where the state has give much more supports to artists, but where artists has to be much more uniform. And so yes, that's my experience. For example, in Switzerland, we tend to have a slightly more secured life than in France. Although in France, the state gives a lot of money to support artists, but there is a lot less private support, and there is a lot less culture of private sponsoring of how do we say, yeah, the relationships between benefactors and musicians like it was already in the 15th century or in America. So yeah, so I believe this is the danger of wanting to make artists a group as a whole and treating all artists as a group, instead of accepting that choosing the life of an artist is choosing to be not to have this kind of support as being part of a group of workers.
But this is you're talking about a financial in a financial aspect or economical aspect. But do you think in values such as what people value to, for example, think that they, well, it basically also comes to a financial aspect, but if the public, how the public see it, that they value, for example, going to live concerts, or that they value the input of the artist into his career. So, for example, we think of a medical doctor or a specialist or a engineer, and then we have a certain respect because we think, well, they studied so long and they've worked so hard for it, so they must be up there, you know, and knowing everything. Yet with artists, it's sort of, we sometimes I get the impression people think, oh well, he's born like that, you know, he just opens the piano and plays, and he's talented, and not thinking about all the studying involved and the sacrifice and the hours of work that you put into it.
Yeah, I think people who really know about classical music, for example, they know how much work it is, and they do respect us enough as considering how much input we have to put to give a concert. So I never felt frustrated about what I could get from the public uh, about being a musician. So yeah, actually, I'm pretty grateful to be honest. I'm not I don't really want to feel the need of fighting to for our rights or our respect. And but of
No.
course, the classical musicians are really on the top of the respect hierarchy, and there is not without reasons. Of course, we probably do what is technically the most difficult kind of music. We usually, I mean, interpret classical interpreters don't need to be as creative as, for example, a pop singer, but we need a technical level that is extremely high, and basically much higher as any other kind of music. So if a classical pianist wants to play any other kind of piano and other musical style, he has to learn all the creativity. He has to learn all the theory, but technically he will always be on top. So he will never have to practice scales to master jazz scales. He just needs to learn the notes. And Yeah, I always felt that we have a lot of respect. It probably, what from what I heard from friends and colleagues, it depends a lot on where we are. For example, here in Switzerland, we have a lot of respect. America as well. But I heard other countries like the UK, for example, the musicians, classical musicians, are a little bit considered like servants, and yeah, we have to be lucky and be in nice places where people
Mm.
can really respect our work.
But do you think it also comes with the education that maybe in Switzerland in the schools they have more music education or more arts education, um, and they, you know, that it comes from there, that children at a young age start to appreciate art already, um, that they are, you know, that the whole society or the audiences then knows more, because or know more, because I think almost that um, if you don't have an insight or knowledge about a subject, then you know, it's difficult to understand it and appreciate it. Um, and I'm thinking that if we could educate children, or if schools could make art more important subject in schools, that, you know, younger audiences will be um, created really, you know, and interest, more younger interest, and people coming to the concerts.
Yes, yes, of course, education is so important, especially to appreciate classical music that needs a real initiation. It takes basically years to be really able to go to a classical concert and enjoy it in its fullness and its richness. And yes, in Switzerland we have a lot of children learning music at conservatories, with thousands of children nationwide, and thousands in a city like Geneva. I think there may be 5,000 children at the conservatory, so there's really a lot of people. But
Wow.
this is more a private, yeah, this is more something private that the family decides for themselves, and this is not given at the public schools. But the results is very fine. I think maybe Germany is always on top in Europe, at least in Europe, about educating children in school about classical music and highest forms of art. But yes, and it's our job as well as artists to find ways to interest children and non-children to discover the classical music and make accessible concerts.
Mm. Yeah, I think so too. You know, I think it's definitely the artists that should reach out in that sense. Um, I don't know too much about the music industry, that I know how they do it, but I'm just thinking from my perspective that it would be lovely, you know, if children get more exposed to classical music, for example. But tell me, what did you do in during lockdown that was something you've never done before? A hobby or anything? Did you start cooking or baking or?
No, that I did already, but maybe something completely new that I started months ago is to host a radio show in a
Oh,
local radio
okay.
in Geneva. So it's about mainly about classical music, but we go to other kind of musics like klezmer or jazz as well, and
Mm.
we interview. We have hosts. We interview them. They're mostly musicians, but they can be as well photographs. Or for example, today in a few hours we'll have a show with a photograph that is passionate about classical music, and that inspires him a lot to yes, for his creativity. And um, and and the topic of the is not only classical music, but especially the link between generations in the world of art and especially music. So this is something I'm going to radio as a host like for 15 years, and I always felt I was very confident there, very I really liked the atmosphere, and now I wanted to start to be at the other side of the table,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
a presenter. So this is
Yeah.
something very, very enjoyable, for example.
Oh, wow. But that's lovely that you have that, you know, that you started doing that.
Mhm.
Um, it's a wonderful, wonderful idea. A very also very creative, you know?
Uh,
Yeah. Um, but tell me, what is your wish for when this is all over?
I wish things will be as at least as good as they were before the, the lockdown, and
Mm.
eventually they can be better as well, because people are probably very frustrated for so long without social life, without concerts, without. So maybe we'll have more concerts. Maybe we have every day 3 concerts to
Mm.
give and to hear somewhere. That would be nice. And yeah, I just wish life will become normal again, even if normal
Mm.
doesn't mean the thing. But yeah, I just in all simplicity, I don't want to change the world. I think the world is pretty good as it is already. We can keep continue to develop the good side of what we already have, and try to diminish the problems. And that can be a good time to think about this. But I don't dream of a complete new awakening or something.
Oh,
This is
yeah.
dangerous as well.
So you think that uh, uh, the public would be very eager to come to concerts?
I hope so. Yeah, I hope that even when the concert starts, I hope people get rid of the fear pretty quickly, because this can be actually, it can take months or years before everybody really accepts that there is no COVID anymore and they can live normally anymore. I know that many people want to go to concerts for a long time, even if they know even if it's allowed. So I hope everybody can get rid of the fear as quickly as possible.
Mhm. Well, that's wonderful. That's wonderful wishes you have, and I agree with you, you know, and I think also we should um, just go back to simplicity and rethink everything that we do. But I wish you best of luck with your radio hosting. That sounds
Yeah, thank you.
wonderful,
Yes.
and also hope that your concerts will start again soon, and that your wish comes true. That audiences would come. Thank you so much, Francois.
Thank you.
Have
Thank
a
you.
lovely day.
Occasion. You too.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
You.